Good afternoon. Please sit down. Mr. Aparajit.
Yes, sir.
Why do you wish to join the civil service?
Sir, since childhood there has always been an indirect push towards civil services. For example, my grandmother always used to say when I used to dress up that "Aaj mera beta collector lag raha hai." So, and when I went to college to IIT Bombay, I saw my seniors. I grasped from them that the diverse fields which civil services can open for me. I believe that whether IIT or not, it provides a wholesome package for any graduate, given the job diversity, job satisfaction, the direct contribution which you can make towards the society. So that is why I chose civil services.
And you're not looking at for a job in a top service in the country.
Yes, sir.
Having a great career is not your concern.
Sir, I believe that it gives me an opportunity which I would not get in any other field. That is to directly contribute towards the society.
You really think so?
Yes, sir.
I think each field offers something great.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
There are no Nobel Prizes for a civil servants.
Yes, sir. Sir,
What could be a bigger recognition than for service? It's not that other services, this is the only unique service which gives you. Police doesn't give you anything.
yes, sir.
Your second is your choice.
Yes, sir. Sir, I believe
That is not a correct answer.
Sir, I believe that in
How?
Gandhiji's thought that whether it is a labor or a barber or a lawyer, everyone contributes towards the society. And even if I got a job through chemical engineering, my contribution towards society would be indirect. However, I wanted to be on the ground, on the field.
Okay.
Mr. Aparajit,
Yes, sir.
in the northeast, in Assam, there is this movement which was started called the ULFA.
Yes, sir.
What is this ULFA?
Sir, it is, the full form is United Liberation Front of Assam. It was started as a movement against the migrants, so as to protect the indigenous people. And their ideology is that the colonial India, which was freed from the Britishers, still continues, and the state still discriminates against the Assam people. That is why they want to assert their identity and protect their culture.
But then when the Assam Accord was signed, with the view to stop this infiltration which was taking place,
Yes, sir.
the ULFA continued to indulge in violence, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So, what is the demand now?
Sir, there have been different factions within ULFA,
One
and
faction has joined the stream,
yes, sir.
and the faction which is still maintaining their stand is led by, what is the name of the person? Paresh Barua.
Yes.
Paresh Barua.
Yes.
So what is their demand?
So their demand is to grant sovereignty to Assam as a nation state.
And did you read recently in the papers about Paresh Barua's statement?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
Sir, today itself the statement has come in the newspaper, and it was that they are ready to talks with the government. However, the discussion should be exclusively on the sovereignty which should be granted.
Correct, that's correct. But Paresh, do you think that the faction led by Paresh Barua has any kind of a major hold in Assam now?
So definitely the insurgency is down, given the intelligence reports and the reports from the Home Ministry. And however, just through violence, I believe that 100% satisfaction of the people cannot be achieved, and that is why the government has started various to engage the people through soft power also.
Now, last year, the government, the central government decided to do away with Article 370 and 35A.
Yes, sir.
Can you just tell me very briefly, what was this Article 370?
Sir, Article 370 was included in the Constitution as a temporary provision to grant a special status to the state of Jammu and Kashmir due to some historical factors. And through this, the Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir had a separate constitution for the state, and some of the provisions of our constitution, the Indian constitution, were not applied to it, such as the directive principles or and Article 35.
You're correct. It was a temporary measure.
Yes, sir.
And when the Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir finished its work, did it say anything about its integration into India or not?
No, sir. Actually, this is the major bone of contention, that the Article 370 contains that Constituent Assembly should propose that Article 370 be removed from the Constitution. But when it was dissolved, there was no such
No,
thing.
yes, sir. The Constituent Assembly, when it created the Constitution, it mentions that Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India. It mentions that. Now, what was this Article 35A?
Sir, Article 35A mentioned about the permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir, again to preserve their cultural heritage and indigenous people. It has some provisions through which the permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir are allowed to vote in its local
Basically
elections.
it gave
Hold
the
pro-
authority to the state government to declare who are permanent residents and who are not, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there is this issue of the Rohingyas.
Yes, sir.
Now, of course, it has been happening. We have a large number of these people who have come into India also. But recently, the International Court of Justice had also looked into this issue. Why was that?
Sir, International Court of Justice called upon the Prime Minister of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi, to appear before the court because there were allegations of state-led violence against the minorities.
That's right. Who had approached the ICJ? Gambia.
Yes, Gambia.
Gambia had approached the ICJ,
Thank you.
and this ICJ had issued a directive that the Myanmar government should protect the Rohingyas from persecution and atrocities. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now, you heard of the Kartarpur corridor.
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Sir, it is a pilgrimage route which has been opened up from India to, I don't remember the name of the Gurudwara.
Kartarpur in Kartarpur, yeah. And it was, when was this inaugurated?
On the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev.
Guru Nanak. Are there any security concerns on this issue of Kartarpur?
Yes, sir. The intelligence reports have shown that the main agenda behind opening of the Kartarpur corridor is to infiltrate the minds of pilgrims and pursue the Khalistani agenda in the Sikhs.
Well, it was on our request. I mean, don't forget the Kartarpur corridor. The request was made by the previous NDA government during Mr. Vajpayee's time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Pradeep, what is the concept of democratic decentralization?
So democratic decentralization is the devolution of powers, which has been mentioned in the Directive Principle of State Policy, through which the Panchayati Raj Act of 1993 and the Urban Local Bodies Act was enacted by the Parliament.
There were two constitutional amendments which sought to achieve this goal of democratic decentralization.
Yes, sir.
Which are those?
So it is the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments of 93 and 94.
Have the objectives been fulfilled?
So due to political reasons, there was some dilution in the provisions, due to which only the state governments were given the responsibility to devolve the powers. However, the devolution has not taken place. For example, the Schedule 11 has some of the mentioned areas where state government should devolve those powers to the panchayats. However, it has not taken place in many states.
Is it only devolution of power or devolution of finances as well?
Yes, sir. Definitely, the devolution of finances, funds, functionaries, as well as the powers in those areas have not been carried out.
As a young man, you are seeking employment to the premier civil service of the country.
Yes, sir.
Now, what in your view is the overall employment scenario in the country?
Sir, recently the PLFS survey came out, which showed that in the last 3 decades the unemployment is at highest, that is 6.1%, which is not good for the economy, for the youth, given that our demography we will be the highest country having the highest population of youth by 2025. 2035 years old.
What do you think has contributed to this sorry state of affairs?
So there have been many factors. One major factor which I noticed is the demature industrialization. It has reached its peaks before it matured,
Mhm.
and the tilt towards the services sector, which inherently engages less jobs in the market. So that is why there has been huge unemployment. And coming from my own personal experience, that is from the IIT, I believe that there has been a mismatch in academic and industry, due to which even our engineers are unemployed.
According to some economists, demonetization, which was carried out some years ago, destroyed the informal economy, which gave employment to a large number of people. Do you think it has some substance?
Sir, I've read some reports that demonetization was not good for the informal sector. However, it has been about 3.5 years. So I
Mhm.
believe that those businesses should have been back on track, and I don't believe that reason should be
Okay.
relevant now.
Manufacturing, which could have been another employment trigger.
Yes, sir.
We had the Make in India scheme introduced by the present government. You think it has made a success?
Sir, Make in India scheme was started in 2015 to generate about 10 crore jobs in next 5 years.
Yeah.
However, going by the government data recently, I don't believe that this agenda has been fulfilled. However, there have been some significant successes. For example, Train 18. Many shipyards have been started to promote the ship industry, and the Train 18, as I mentioned, and there are the MSME schemes have been started. For example, interest subvention schemes, and the solar panel appliances have been started manufacturing. The Samsung recently opened the biggest factory of it in Noida, which will generate jobs. So I believe that because manufacturing sector is such that the gestation period is very long for the results to come out. So I believe that the targets were very ambitious, and we are on the right track and we will achieve it.
Okay. You are a student of international relations, so let me ask you a question. How would you view India's relationship with its immediate neighbors?
Sir, since independence, India has always believed to be generous towards its small neighbors, whether it was the Gujarat Doctrine or the neighborhood first policy of the present government. There have been some issues, for example, majorly in the 1970s, when India was accused to be being a big brother rather than an elder brother. However, I think we have overcome those issues, and with most of the neighbors except for Pakistan, we have friendly relations.
There have been no recent irritants.
Sir, the major problem I believe are the structural constraints which are present. Due to, for example, the Maldives recently, only after the regime war takes place and democracy was established, that India established better relations with it. Similarly, in Sri Lanka, there were elections recently, and there was an apprehension in Indian foreign policy groups that Rajapaksa regime would be treated towards China. However, I believe that the Indian diplomacy has done good.
Okay. Now, last question on your hobby. You have played tennis at some stage of your career.
Yes.
Now, who according to you is the greatest of all time as far as tennis players are concerned? There is a debate raging between 2 or 3 of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, since my childhood, there has always been the big four. That is Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, and Andy Murray. However, the greatest of all times is the major debate is between Nadal and Federer. In my personal opinion, I like Federer more, given his experience in these sports is more, but still his passion for winning more is not reduced. However, it seems to be a personal opinion for everyone, and this tag would be.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've written listening to rap music as one of your extracurricular activities.
Yes.
Give me one defining feature of rap music. To
Ma'am,
a layman, suppose I had no idea about what rap music is,
Mm.
how would you explain it?
to generate your interest towards rap music, I would tell you the origin of the rap music. It was actually originated in
No, don't give me the history, just try to explain what is rap music.
Ma'am, it is different from other musics because it shows the reality of the society in its own words. It does not talk idealism. It shows you the reality, and moreover, it comes from the marginalized sections, the socially disadvantaged, and they tell their own issues.
Now, you were also exchange student at Denmark.
Yes.
Give me one significant factor which you thought was very important to you when you did your studies there.
And the semester exchange opened my mind to a lot of new perspectives
Right.
because it was my first visit to a developed country, and
Anything which struck you, any one point which struck you as being very important,
majorly it was the education and the public transport.
public transport. Okay. Now, you're from Haryana.
Yes.
In Haryana, patriarchy is at a very high level. Yet we find that girls from Haryana do very well in contact sports. How is that? How do parents allow?
In which sports?
In the contact sports, like
Wrestling.
Yes.
Definitely patriarchy is a major problem. However,
so
slowly.
Haryana girls are doing extremely well
Yes.
in wrestling and all these sort of sports.
Yes, ma'am. So, in the beginning, it was mainly dominated by men.
No, I know in the beginning, I'm asking you now. Basically, it's the parents who are the guides and trainers for the girls.
Yes, ma'am.
All right?
Ma'am, I believe the mindset is changing through the
Changing.
government initiatives.
Good.
It is also shown in the sex ratio, which has increased. For example, it is 9:31 now. And
True. Okay, now we see a lot of protests. For instance, at the moment in Shaheen Bagh in Delhi, a lot of protests are going on. Then in Haryana, we had the Jat Andolan. Shaheen Bagh has been comparatively peaceful, but you know, in Haryana, we had some very, very difficult protests where a lot of public property was damaged.
yes.
What can be done to contain this damage to public and private property when a protest takes place?
And there should be an initiative from the state to engage first with the leaders of these groups, because it is the leaders to whom the population will listen, the protesting population. Then it should be also a two-pronged approach. If anyone is caught damaging public property, that person should be brought to the books so that deterrence and an example is created for the future.
But should we also impose some sort of a community fine?
Ma'am, I don't agree with the community fine
Why?
because injustice to bring justice to one person, I don't think we should do
No, but when you
injustice.
have people sitting on the railway tracks,
Yes.
so it's not one person, it's the whole community which is sitting there and inconveniencing so many people. So should not the community be fined in that case?
And definitely they form the part of the community, but I would not generalize it to the whole community as such.
Okay.
For example, even in the Jat agitation, there were urban Jats who brought out a resolution that they do not need reservation, and rather reservation should be created on a multidimensional basis and not just on caste system.
All right. Now, would you say that our society is becoming very intolerant?
No, ma'am, I would not like to believe that because of my personal experience, I have never seen a change that has come out in a society which is on the negative side. I believe that in India since history has been a multicultural
I'll
society.
give you one example, road rage. Is that not intolerance?
And that is definitely intolerance. But however, to measure it, that if it is increased or decreased would be very subjective.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So you were an exchange student in Denmark. How much time did you spend there?
Sir, about 4 months.
And where? Which university?
in the Denmark Technical University
Uh,
in Copenhagen.
in Copenhagen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did you study there in those 4 months?
So whatever courses which I had to pursue in IIT Bombay, I pursued those courses at Denmark.
So those were technical courses?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. What is the average rate of taxation in Denmark?
Sir, the personal taxation.
Personal tax.
Yes, sir. That is very high. It is about 50%.
So 50%.
Yes, sir.
But which country has the highest level of personal indebtedness in the world?
So,
Do you have any idea?
No, sir.
It's also Denmark. Okay. It has the highest rate of personal indebtedness in the world. I'll ask you some questions on international relations since you have given that as your thing, although you are from IIT Bombay. Have you heard of an agreement called JCPOA?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, it was an agreement which was signed with Iran by the 5 countries, which were Germany, USA, France, Britain, and one more, sir. I don't remember.
Okay. And what was the, just give me the gist of that argument.
Sir, the outcome was the uplifting of the sanctions
Yeah.
from Iran, and Iran would reduce its stockpile of the nuclear weapons, and it would use it only for the civilian purposes.
You meant to say Iran had nuclear weapons?
So the enrichment would not increase to that level, to the nuclear weapons, and they would stop it to the civilian purpose only.
Okay.
That was in the end.
And now what is the status of the JCPOA?
So after coming up of the Trump administration, it has been revoked by USA, although the other countries are trying to save it, but they have not been very successful.
Have you heard of something called CATSA?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, it is a law that has been enacted by USA against anyone who purchases arms from Russia
Okay.
or the American adversaries. But I'm from Russia and Iran, but I'm not sure about these
Oh,
other countries. Which are,
this basically is secondary sanctions.
yes.
What in your view is the single greatest external threat to India?
So I believe that it is the increasing inequality within our society.
No. External threat.
Okay, external threat, sorry.
Yes.
Sir, external threat would be Pakistan, our own neighbor.
You don't think China is the external threat, the biggest external? You think Pakistan is a bigger external threat than China?
Sir, I believe that China's global image is rising, due to which it will have to hold that global image to become a superpower, but it can use its leverage over Pakistan to undertake some negative, which can have negative consequences on India. Some attacks, or the Pakistan's policy of bleeding India through 1,000 cuts, that can be pursued. But China, I don't see that if there will be a direct war. I don't see possibility of that.
Okay. Now, I was just reading these papers and I just came across this news that Japan, US evacuate from China their citizens affected by the coronavirus.
Yes.
And here I say, this news says that Chinese ambassador advises against evacuation of Indians. Like it says that China has not yet given permission to India, even after 48 hours,
Yes.
to evacuate its citizens from India.
Yes, sir.
So why this, what in your view is the reason behind this two different policies with two different set of countries?
Sir, I'm not aware of the exact news article.
It
But
is here,
yes, sir.
yeah.
But the context I'm not aware. So, but if you like, I would like to
Yes, yes.
Sir, it might be that the number of Indians which are living in the Wuhan or the Hubei province are more than that of Britain and USA. That is why evacuation would be more difficult. There will be more chances of spread of virus. Maybe that is why the Chinese administration has taken that decision.
Do you know how many Indian students are there in that area? Do you have any idea?
So, sir.
You don't have?
No, sir.
So 140. Okay, I'll ask you one more this thing. Which is the major security agreement signed by India with the United States in recent times? Security agreement. What is it called?
Sir, it is called COMCASA, Communication Agreement
Okay.
for the.
You are right. And there's one more. It's called LEMOA.
LEMOA, Logistics Agreement.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that
Thank
is
you.
it. Okay. Now, in the recent past, the US policy towards China has changed under Trump.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think that is happening?
Sir, I don't see that that policy towards China has completely changed. USA, since the Obama regime, has been a staunch opponent of China because of its rising global presence. I believe that after coming of Trump, it has become more aggressive and also public.
Okay. Thank you.
You've written something called DG of World MUN.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
Sir, we conducted World Model United Nations, which is an academic simulation of the pattern which is followed in the United Nations. And I was the Director General of it.
All right. Now, there are some very important issues of national importance pending before the Supreme Court. Can you identify a few of them if you have been reading newspapers? Name 3, 4 important.
So the first one would be the CAA and NRC, the constitutionality of this law.
All right, okay. Good.
Then so if I want to pull.
Sabrimala?
Yes, sir. There has been a review petition for Sabrimala verdict, and it has been sent to a larger bench now.
Can you recall any recent ruling or judgment of the Supreme Court which you consider to be of fundamental importance to all of us? Importance and relevance to all of us. Anything
Sir,
recently?
In 2019, there was a judgment by Supreme Court for maintaining a balance between the powers of governor and the elected.
No, something which affects you and me in our daily lives.
Sorry, sir.
What has it said about internet?
Yes, sir.
What has it said?
Sir,
What ruling has it given?
yes, sir. It has said that internet has become very important and is now considered as a
important and
considered as a fundamental right for
internet is considered fundamental right?
so use of internet for your profession.
Access to internet.
Access to
a fundamental right.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard of Kaladan Highway?
Yes, sir.
What is it? Trilateral highway. Where does it begin? Where does it end?
Sir, I'm not sure.
Okay, never mind. Have you heard of macroeconomic indicators?
Yes, sir.
What do they mean? Which are the indicators in relation to India's economy? Macroeconomic indicators.
Sir,
Identify these.
there would be fiscal deficit of the country,
Okay.
revenue deficit, the trade surplus which a country, that is the foreign exchange in the
Forex, yes.
RBI, the GDP growth,
Okay, very good.
the exchange rate, but that is majorly dependent upon the
Okay.
import. So the employment status of the, I'm not sure about this. But
Employment has nothing to do. Employment is a function of economy. It's not an indicator. Now tell me, as far as GDP is concerned, what was the growth in the last quarter?
so it was 5.1%. So
All right. What are the negative factors which are retarding economic